Welcome to the Here For You Crew podcast. I'm Matthew Timler, and this is...
This is Baldo, or Ozzy for short.
So today we're going to talk about the apprenticeship, what it kind of is in the electrical field, and kind of what to expect as an electrical apprentice, and maybe some of the cool reasons that you'd become an apprentice. So Ozzy, you get hours in, you get to go into school. What attracted you to the electrical side of things?
I did a lot of hands-on work with my dad. He did flooring, and I kind of looked more into electrical because I had some friends who did it. Not friends, but older friends who did it. And I kind of talked to them about it. It seemed pretty cool. Went to the 1-year program, and that's when I liked it and stuck with it.
So how do you think you've been doing?
I did pretty good.
You're doing freaking amazing, dude. You're a little rock star. All we hear is good things about you. Even in school, the teachers even talk about you. So what can somebody expect in the apprenticeship? What does it look like?
So I good amount of the basics. You do a lot of bookwork, learning the code. Code is very important. And then after a couple bit of bookwork, you go into a lab and start doing hands-on work too. Start learning a bit.
So how many days a week are you in it?
We're going once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
8 hours.
Yep. And does it seem like 8 hours to you, or is it enjoyable, or how is it compared to other schooling?
It goes by pretty quick. You go through a lot of bookwork. You learn a lot. You're going through a lot, and just time flies. Don't really pay attention to time. Just paying attention, doing hands-on, and just flies by.
What would you say the coolest lab you've done so far has been?
Let's say when we check the resistance and amperage throughout the whole bulbs, because usually we do the bookwork with it and try to figure out voltage, amperage, and resistance and the power. But actually figuring it out while you're actually doing the plugging in your meters, plugging in your bulbs, doing your calculations, and it's a bit different from actually just doing the work. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always love the labs in school because you get to mess up on it, and then you don't have your boss yelling at you because you messed up. But it's just different because you get to have fun with it. There's no pressure, and you're like, hey, what if this? What if I do this? And then you string all these things together in the classroom. And the teacher's like, if you turn that on, you're in trouble. Don't do that.
I'm gonna blow a fuse.
Yeah.
And
So, you're in the apprenticeship. What's your end goal after the apprenticeship?
Journeyman's, build up to masters.
Why do you want your master's? What's your end goal?
I wouldn't really say start my own business because that's kind of a bit too tough for me, but just having my journeymans and working with others, helping out, trying to lead and teach other people too what I know, spread my knowledge. Might not know much right now, but maybe later on help others out.
Dude, you know a bunch right now. You've grown a tremendous amount. You're super humble, and I think that's what everybody appreciates about you because you can know something and you'll be the first person to be like, oh, hey, how do I do this? And it's Ozzy, I just showed you how to do this, and you already knew how to do this. You're like, well, I could learn something. And you're like, maybe I didn't know. So I always appreciate that about you. Is there any other school skills that you learn in school?
When I took the 1-year program, might be a little different from the apprenticeship, but we learned the basics of power tools as well, what they were called and what they do. So that was pretty helpful. For some power tools I haven't used, it helped me out a bit.
So would you say that kind of probably gave you an advantage taking the 1-year program before the apprenticeship, or even
Kind of, yeah. Because the 1-year program the apprenticeship is kind of like a refresher to me to the 1 year. I did forget a lot of the things we did learn, but once we go through the apprenticeship, it comes back to me from what I learned in the 1 year, and it just makes it easier to get a grip on it and do the work on it.
So when you're in the apprenticeship, do you talk with your classmates at all?
Kind of. We all talk about our week, what we did at work, what we struggled on, if this is code compliant or not. Some jokes about electrical work.
That's pretty cool. Working at PLB compared to the other people in your class, does it seem like you're doing the same sort of things that they're doing, or does it seem like you're doing different things? How does it compare?
Me personally, I feel like I'm doing a little bit more or a good amount more than what they're doing.
Like
But,
how so? Just give me a
um,
breakdown.
just helping out, trying to lead jobs down in club and now dollar, and just seems like a bigger step from what I'm doing and
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Well, that's good. And that's because we trust you a lot. So technically the apprenticeship is just like one solid path.
Yeah.
But there's all these after hours courses that you can take that can kind of like dictate which direction you want to go in. So like if you want to learn PLC programming, like
Mm.
you can go learn PLC programming. But if you're like, hey, all I want to do is run Romex, you can go take a class on like laying houses out and what it entails of the code compliance of circuiting out a house.
Mhm.
So that's I wanted to touch on that a little bit because like everybody thinks of as an electrician is like, oh, okay, you can do like everything. But sometimes like we're specialized like lawyers. Like we don't all like to do the same stuff. Like what's something you don't like to do in our career?
Some residential.
Residential.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just if I mess up the homeowner's house, it's on me and crawl spaces up in the attic. Ooh. I'm a pretty tall guy, so going those little crawl spaces is not the most comfortable.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. I can totally relate to that. I think residential is like my least favorite, but for the not so much like the messing up things, but I just feel like it's too easy. Like there's
Mm.
too little variables that can go wrong. And that sounds really stupid. Like I like the possibility of things going wrong, but for me, like residential, it's it's just too easy. Like I could just do it mindlessly and I can't appreciate that. Um what's some advice that you'd give to somebody who's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about being an electrician." What's something you'd say they should do or maybe that they shouldn't do?
Ooh. Something very helpful that helped me was that 1 year program.
Yep.
Learning the basics. Started off with simple 24-volt light bulbs and pressing the doorbell button to turn it on.
That's
That's how
cool.
start off. Just keep what we really want to get into, just keep pushing through it. I kind of got lost in the 1 year a little bit. Just helped out. Asked others for help, helped me out. The professor especially, it was pretty
Yeah.
helpful. Um, it's pretty cool. I mean, when you go out to work, you like residential. If you do resi, um, could be something just troubleshooting.
Something that always amazed me with the apprenticeship is like what you got to see in the field and then like you got to like bring it back to your teacher and be like, "Dude, I saw this. Like what do you think about this?" And kind of like you had said with your classmates, like you talk about different code compliant installs and
Mhm.
like you get to bounce things off of each other. I always found that to be super interesting and I don't it was almost exciting for me to like come back with like, guess what I found and bring
Yeah,
it to the class and be like, oh, I bet you haven't seen this before. Or
I
like,
usually every morning that's what we do.
really?
Just he goes, anything interesting happened this week, and then a bunch of us just start talking like, "Oh, this happened to us. We had to fix it," or "These guys messed this up." And just,
What's something you shared?
something I shared.
You're not getting in trouble. I just know.
Something I shared was down in when we were down in Memphis. Um, a lot of the old wiring and how stuff was run was like pretty pretty sketch, and
Like give me an example.
I feel like some of the bends were over 360. Like
Yeah.
it was like, whoa.
How'd they get those wires in here, dude?
Yeah.
I think some of the sketchiest stuff that like I've seen is when you come into say like a Dollar General like out of town and all of a sudden you look up and there's like zip ties holding all of the pipe up and you're like, I'm walking underneath this right now. I cannot believe it. And everybody else is ignorant to it because like they don't look up.
Yeah.
But as soon as you become an electrician, you're all of a sudden your eyes are like,
Looking everywhere.
that's I know my wife like kicks me all the time for it. So with you being in the 1 year program, there's certain like math and science and English requirements that like are required to
Mhm.
pass. So sometimes if you didn't get at least I think it's a C plus, right?
Yes.
In algebra 1 and like an English class and a science class, then you have to retake a test. And I think it's called an AccuPlacer.
Yeah, I had to take one for the reading.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, brother, it's your second language, so I don't blame you. Like, don't test me on Spanish because I'm gonna get like an F. So, but besides that, then you have to fill out like the form and pay like I think it's like $35 for like your apprenticeship license. But you just go to DSPS's website and do that, and then you're an apprentice. As long as the company says like, hey, I want to take him under my wing and he can be my little apprentice. Except you're a big apprentice. You're bigger than me. So to kind of close this out, what is your favorite thing so far about being an apprentice or an electrician? And then what's the biggest piece of advice? I know you already gave some advice on like what helped you, but like maybe even if it's in your personal life or something. But so those two things.
Oh, favorite thing is just coming in and there's something new every day. You never know what you're gonna run into. Might have to just switch up a little light bulb or just switch the whole thing and do a whole new pull. Could be easy, could be the whole night.
Yep.
And that's like one of my favorite parts because you never know. It just gets you on edge, gets you on your toes. Yeah. And big piece of advice that I have is push through it. Ask people to help. Ask for help. Don't be shy to ask for help. I did that a lot. I would not really ask for help. Once I got out of my comfort zone and started asking for help, it helped me out a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like even last night I was watching Madden and Isaac get their butts kicked on a wire pull. And I like looked at the cable they were pulling on. And I was like, did you guys use lube? They're like, no, we've done this before. I'm like, that's Cat 6, bro. Like you're trying to pull it against other Cat 6s. You're just gonna tear a hole in one. Like just use the lube. They're like, we're almost there. I'm like, I've been watching you struggle for 20 minutes. I'm just trying to help you out now, brother.
That lube was very helpful. Those big wire pulls, feeling lube it up and smooth.
Dude, it never hurt anybody. Like even if you're doing a small wire pull, like just throw some lube on it. It helps so much. Like if in doubt, just lube it. I can definitely relate with what you said about like never knowing because I have that same love and passion for electrical because of that. It's like it's a little mystery box every single time that you go to a job site. You never know what's inside of it. And sometimes it's like this huge candy bar and other times it's like one of those Jack in the Boxes and you just got punched right in the face. So it's pretty cool. Well, thanks for coming on here, Ozzy. This Here For You Crew podcast, and have a wonderful evening or day or morning.